So welcome back to Code with Clarks, and we're going to be creating now our, as promised, we're going to be creating our slider. So under our items bar, we want a beautiful cards slider. And you can use libraries. That's a personal preference. For me, I don't really like using libraries too much. I use them exactly when it's needed. If it's not needed, I don't load my pages with a lot of bootstrapping and libraries for every single little thing, which I don't really appreciate about some developers, but that's again my own subjective opinion on that. I don't even have to share it. I just thought I'd let you know that I create my own components from scratch. If you're wondering why we are not using, for example, some libraries that might makes your life easy, but that's again personal preference. I'd prefer creating my own components and creating mistakes and learning from those mistakes rather than loading my pages with some libraries that I don't even understand the functionalities of them. So hopefully that was clear. We'll create a card slider right here. We invoked it. And let's go ahead and create that file in my components folder. And cards slider.js. That was a little typo there. And I'll correct that .js right there. Okay. And there I'm gonna RFCE. As always, create a React functional component. Get rid of React as Next.js already. Have React installed globally, imported globally, and Next.js by default uses React library and the React DOM package in the background. So we don't have to import that React there. So we can reformat the document and save our file. Import it in our homepage where we want to use it. That's up to you. If it's not your homepage, whatever page you want to use that in, and import a cards slider from this location, components card slider. And we invoked it right here. So now if we save, we should probably see a div that have card slider inside of it, which what we see here, that's great. It's been imported correctly. If you didn't been with us when we created our other components, this 3 components, an items bar with some beautiful effects, a search bar as well with some beautiful effects, and our top bar with some beautiful sliding effects. The functionalities is going to come later when needed. For now, we don't really need them, to be honest. We'll still create in our landing page or home page after we finish with it. Then we can go back to our components. Now we have only this page that we have created as a showcase to the links in an items bar we have created. You can see it says only best deals. So if I route to it right here, it's going to take me to this page and it says best deals. So like we said, we're going to create stuff when we need them. For now, we'll need this little beautiful card slider. So let's go ahead and make it. So in this card slider, I have a div wrapping everything up. And inside that div, I'm going to have another div. And inside of it, I'll say discover, for example, our products. This is just a placeholder for now. Under that div, I'll have a cards a slider of cards. I know it's a little bit confusing because the component we're creating is called card slider, and we creating in here slider of cards, but you'll understand what I mean. It's just semantics. You can choose to name it whatever you want to name it, but after we finish, you're gonna understand fully why we choosing this format right here. So if I save, I probably should have an error. Slider of cards is not defined, which is obviously correct. In my components, I'll create a new file and call that one slider of cards.js. And not to be confusing, let's just change that card slider to header. and I'll change this in here to header, not to be confusing. Okay, header, and now we have in this header a div that wraps everything up, and another div that says inside that says discover our products, and a slider of cards right under it. So if I save now everything, I should get another error, which is slider of cards is not, has nothing. Let's put an RFC inside of it, and it's probably going to return a slider of cards, just a div that says slider of cards. If I save, it's still not defined, and it's of course because we didn't import it in our homepage. Import, did we? Card slider, oh, we did. Card slider, let's change it to header, and in here change it as well to header. Let's see, header comes from components, header, and in header we have slider of cards, and let's import that there as well. Import slider of cards from dot, because it's the same folder, same parent, not two dots to get out of the folder, but just one. And now it should probably be working. Slider of cards right here, and discover our products. Okay. So before going anywhere, I'm going to close all my files except the header. So in that header, that div that wraps everything, I'm going to give it a class name that will come from header st for header styles dot header container. Okay. Let's create a file in styles. To not throw any errors in here, let's call that header styles dot module.css. Close it in here, and I'm going to import it. Import header st, as we said, we'll call that from styles dot slash styles slash the file name, which is header styles.module.css. Okay, so we have created that file, we have imported the whole file, and we are targeting this class name in here, which is header container. So let's split. If you're working in VS Code, split your window, or if you have two monitors open to Windows, it's up to you. Just always keep your GSX next to your CSS, or if you want to call it HTML, it's up to you. Just React code if you want to keep that side to side to know exactly what you're working on. In this one right here, I'll open my styles. So now I have the components or the structure, and I have the styles next to it, and it's easy to work like that. I'll get that class name that I targeted, which is the wrapping div or the parent of everything in my header components, and target it. I'll target that class name and the header container. Just to be able to see it for now, I want to give it a background color of something, aqua something. Okay, it is right there. So instead of that, I'm going to give it a background and say URL. And let me see if I got my picture right there that I want to use. Public, and yes, I got it. So I got a picture that I'm going to use as a background, which is this one. And you can see that I have the dimensions 1280 in the width on 720 pixels on the height. So I'm going to use that background, and the URL for it is this one. I guess it was VCVC dot png, but we don't forget the slash to access the public always. So that background, and let's say background repeat, no repeat, and let's say again background size to cover, and background Let's do the size. We did the repeat, and let's do the position to the center. Save. We cannot see it, and why is that? Because that's a GP. We correct that mistake, and you can see it right there. And why we choose cover? Because if we choose contain, it's gonna always stop at the size you can see. But if we choose cover, it's gonna cover all and be responsive to all screen sizes. You can see even if you take it bigger or smaller, it's gonna always cover our whole div. Okay, header container. In this second, for now, let's just be satisfied with that. In the second div that is inside, or the first child of our header container, let's give it also a class name. And that class name is going to be called header title, for example. Header title. That sounds like a good descriptive name. And let's target that in our styling file. And the header title, for now, I'll just give it a color of lighter color just to be able to see that it's working correctly. All right, it is right there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to align it to the center of that. Save. It's working. And I want to give it a padding top of 4 rems and a padding bottom of 4 rems. Okay. I want to change the font weight to something more bolder, 900 for example, and the font size, change it to the XX large. Save, and it's looking pretty good. All right, let's be satisfied with that as well for now. And now we have this slider of cards. Okay, so let's go ahead and open that file. Let's close our stylings for now. Let's go ahead and open slider of the cards. In this slider, okay, I'm going to do a little bit again of reformatting, like always, a little bit of indentation so everything is looking nice. And in this slider of cards, what we want to do, let's go back. So we have created this header container. We have a background color, a image that is responsive, and inside of it we have this first a class name, and we have this slider of cards. So this first wrapping div, if it's give it a sorry about that, let's give it a class name. We can use that same style and file and just get it from here, copy it and paste it in the slider as well. Okay, in the class name though, we change that name into the cards group and save. Let's get that cards group. Actually, we don't have nothing inside of it, so we don't have to specify nothing for now. And inside the div, we'll create another sub component and we'll call it card. Okay. And I'm gonna get, we can later change that to be programmatic, but I'll just paste a couple cards there. Okay. For now, it's gonna throw an error because we don't have card. Let's create that component. New file, let's call it card. Actually, to be specific, because we're going to create products cards later, but let's call this one a header card.js, RFCE there, create a functional component as always, do a little bit of reformatting, indentation, everything is looking correct, and okay. So for now, this card is going to come from here, and it's going to return only a div that says some text inside of it. For now, header card. Let's import it in our slider of cards. Import header card from there, and let's just change this name into header card. Save, and it is there. It's just the color of it is not helping, but it's not a big problem. So we know that's been imported and exported correctly. So now we can work on our card as needed. So in my card, each card is going to have a div surrounding it. Okay. And it's going to have in here, let's do a little bit of cheating, copy the same div and paste it as a child inside that one. That's going to be representing an image. And then again, that's just use divs. I like using divs. That's up to you. Their general purpose. So, okay, in this first one, we'll use the image that comes from Next. And before using it, to not throw any error, let's import it. Import image from Next, from this module right here, Next/image. In the image, I'll give it a source, a width, and a height. Okay. I have already got some images for me, which I used some grouping of images I created myself. I looked in libraries online like Pixabay. They have cool free images with no attribution that you can use. And I've created this, just the placeholders, this 3 or 4 images. This one's going to represent clothes. For example, if your e-commerce has general purpose, you want to sell everything, you can have a clothes category, for example, a home and furniture, decoration, and that's it for now. Or electronics, for example. This is what we're going to be creating for now. Wanted to showcase it before making it, and you'll see that's going to be a beautiful design. So let's go in here and change. And I got those images. And just a little recommendation, you just want to have your images the same size, which is better. Always going to come better. So my images is 640, and there's a little mistake with that one I didn't catch. That's 660. 640 on 426. This is 440. So I have some mistakes, but the width is the same in this tree, 640, 640. I can later prefix my images. It's not a problem, but you'll have to have better to have images the same size. So I'm going to use 640 on 440 in this width and height. 640 on, is it 440? 640 on 640 on 440, which is okay. And the source for that is gonna be, what did I call it? Clothes with an extra S. So I'll open there some apostrophes because it's gonna be coming from a string, a root with a slash, and the file or the image is clothes.png with an extra S. Clothes.png. The second div, we're gonna have just for example, as a placeholder, electronics, for example. This is just a placeholder for now. Okay, the image is here in all of them because we have created many. Let's just get rid of them, keep one for now until we create the other one. So electronics, discover our products, and we can see the image in here. And where is that electronics? It's right here under that. So in this div that we wrap the image in, I'm going to give it a class name of card, or actually we can get it from header styles. Let's just keep using that same file. So HDST, for example, for header styles. HDST dot, what's wrong? Don't want to use that command. HDSC dot card image. I'll copy that same class name and give it to the second div, second child. Instead of card image, I'll say card title. And if you understand this structure, what are we going to use in here? You can create your own card, products card, every card that you want to create easily, as long as you understand the structure. So we have this two divs. One is a card image and one is a card title. So let's first go to the card image. Go to the file. Actually, let's work as we always work and split the window right here and open my styles right there. Okay. Before using or changing anything, let's import first that to not throw any errors. Import HDST from styles, and it's header styles dot module dot css. Okay, so let's target the card image. Let's go ahead and target that card image. I want it to be, actually, let's not do anything yet in the image, and let's go to the card title. I'll change the card title color. Sorry, the color to white. The font size to just small for now. Font weight, want it to be a little bolder. Choose a 600. Check it up. Okay, it's right there, under, which is fine. So both this card image and card title is wrapped around or inside this div that we're gonna give a class name, brackets, HDST dot card container. Okay, and save and target that class name. In that class name, the card container is going to represent each card. So first thing first, I'm going to be able to see it in its default values. Just give it a lighter color, and you can see that it's taken all my page, which is okay for now. Gave it a background color. I'm going to give it a padding of 0.5 rems. Okay. And just to be able to see it, how it's going to behave in a smaller design, I'll choose a width of 25%. And you can see my card is now right here. And my title is here. So this card container, I want it to be displayed, not as a div default, which is a block display. I wanted to use a grid display, and a grid of, it's going to be by default rows, but I just can't go ahead and still specify to use 2 fragments for the image and 1 fragment for the title. And you can see it right here. 1 fragment is too much, so I'll use just 2.5, and here I'll use only a half fragment. Pretty good. What I can do is align the content to the center. Check it up. Actually, it should be the items. Align the items to the center. And you can see, we can inspect that card. And you can see that my grid is taking that space, but there is a little problem, I guess. Let's check it up. Here's the image, and here's the title, and the grid card container. But why do we have extra spacing? Let's get rid of that padding for now and see what's going to be happening. Okay. This space right here is taken by something that I can't see, I guess. Let's see what's the problem. So let's not even get some templates of rows. Let's just make them show. Okay. This is better. What I can do as well is justify the items to the center as well on the x-axis, so I can get them right here. And why is it saying electronics, or am I not seeing the E right there? Oh yeah, it's better right now. Let's change that card title color to a black. All right, better. So we can retarget and say my title, I want it to have a padding of 0.5 rem, for example. Give it some space and round it like this. Okay. Actually, I'll just do in here a, without justifying to the X there, just text align to the center, and go to my image and say justify yourself on the x-axis to the center. All right. So what else can we do? That card container, go back to it, give it a border radius of something like 1 rem. See how it's going to behave. Is it too big? That sounds good. Okay. I'm going to give it a border of solid, for now, white, and it's 0.2 rem. Check it up. I can see a border right there. All right. So now what I want to do is, instead of typing a specific image in here, I want to get rid of that. And instead of this placeholder in here, I'm going to get rid of that too. Instead, I'm going to open brackets for the title and say card title. And in here in the source, I'll say card image. The structure, as they're going to come in props for this header card, and say card image and card title. Okay. Now go back to where the header card is coming from, which is the slider of cards. Okay, this header cards, we said it takes a what did we call that? A card image, and it takes a card title. In the card title, I'll get a string there and say the first one I want to be electronics. Okay, I can close my styles for now, and I'll copy that and paste it, maybe something like 6 times or just 4 times for now. Electronics, and I'll choose in the second one clothes and accessories. Go back to the first one, electronics, for example, and media devices, and the third one, call it home and furniture. That's up to you, to what you're selling in your e-commerce project, or if you even need a card slider. A home and furniture and decorations and art or creativity or something. Okay, in the card image, the first one is going to use root. And electronics, what did we call that? Electronics, I had it as group 33, but it's probably changing here. Did I change it or not? What is it? Where is it? I'm sorry about that. We have a clothes. Let's go ahead and start with the clothes in here. Root clothes.png. And for the home and furniture, okay, media devices, media dev.png, and for the home and furniture, I have this for the decoration, so it's keys.png as well. The last one is home and furniture, so this is it. And don't forget the roots, because that's gonna throw a problem, which is the slash to access the public folder or public resources. So if I save this now, I should start seeing different titles, different names, which is great. So they're same size, because the images I've done our best to keep them the same size. And that's a recommended thing to do, so you can have beautiful cards that looks alike. So let's change something else. So our cards are inside this cards group. So we didn't target that yet, so let's go ahead and reopen our styles file and target our cards group right now. In my cards group, hopefully being able to follow everything with me. It's a simple structure and it's a good learning process. Instead of using other libraries cards, you can create your own, and later in the project, this is just like smaller cards in here to showcase. But in the products card, we'll create some beautiful designs, beautiful cards, like the price, the colors available, the choices available, dimensions available, get to your cart, show product details, some little animation when you hover over it, maybe the image rotates or changes or stuff like that. For now, this is what we're dealing with. So the cards group, and change its display to a grid, and grid template, I'll use the columns. I use 3 products for now. See how it's gonna look like. All right, and why is it that way? Because if you remember, we have specified a width of 25% to see how it's gonna look like. I can get rid of that width right now, and you can see that my cards are looking better. What I can do is in this card group, we gave it some columns, and we'll go with a column gap of something like 0.6 rem. A column or a row gap if you need it, which we're not gonna need, but I'll still showcase it. Let's just give it the same value. You can see that we have now a space, a column space, and the row space. I'll keep the column space. Sorry about that. I'll keep the column space and get rid of the row, as I want all my items to be in the same. So in this card group, what I can do is say width of 100 ph, actually v width. Let's see how it's gonna behave. And this is what we were looking for. So how many cards we have in here? 4. I'm gonna add another fragment in here, or instead of writing they're all the same, so I can repeat that with a function of repeat 4 times 1 fragment. Save. You can see that right now all my stuff is in one line. Okay. So if I go ahead and paste more cards, imagine you want to showcase, for example, the best products of the month, the best categories. It's up to you. So we have 8 right now. So what I can do is, let's see if we can repeat 8 there. And you can see that it's looking better. Okay. But I want a slider. I want this to be able to slide. I don't want the cards to be bigger. So if I choose a width of 100%. Let's see if that's going to change anything. And that didn't change anything. Can get rid of that width. Let's try to debug that together. This is the learning process. So we have choose the grid and grid template columns of repeat and stuff like that. Column gap and this card container represent each card. So if I go back to the card container and say a width of 25 v width, see what's going to happen. All right, and we're scrolling. That's the first thing we want to achieve. Okay, 25 v width, which is let's see if it's gonna play with us when we choose smaller screen sizes first before continuing. So let's choose a iPhone, and it's looking pretty good. Actually, let's give it, instead of 25 v width, let's give it a specific value. For example, 150 pixels. Let's see about that. Actually, let's get rid of that width right there. And in the image itself, let's give it that width. Give it a width of 150 or 180 pixels. Looking better for me. Okay, so now I don't want to be able to scroll the whole page and see that little troubles there. So what I can do is go now to the card group and give it an overflow on the X of automatic SG, and you can see that now I'm able to have a slider. So no matter, hopefully everything was understood. I'm gonna re-collapse this. So if you didn't check anything, you can recheck. You can stop the video, and if you wanna just copy it, you can go ahead and do that. So you can slow the video and get everything we used in here. Hopefully that was enough. And we're satisfied with this first or initial styling. Now we want to have a custom scroll bar. Let's make it better. So go back to my, where's my card group? And then my retarget that card group. And now with a selector of WebKit scroll bar. And I'm going to give that scroll bar, new scroll bar, 0. Actually, it's the height, not the width. A height of 0.4 rem. Under that class, I'm going to retarget that same thing, cards group with a selector of scroll bar, but I'll add a dash and the track. So the track of that scroll bar, I want it to have a background, background like this, and say black. And that's just a safe value to go to when we are on old explorers or browsers. And again, type in the same style, which is background, and this time we'll use linear gradient, or actually let's use the WebKit linear gradient. Linear gradient that comes from WebKit, which is better. And inside, let's for now give it just red, something yellow, red, orange, and yellow. Okay. And under that class name, I'm going to retarget that same cards group with a selector of scroll bar. And this time, instead of the track, I'm going to choose the thumb, which is the thing that you move to scroll. And in the thumb, I'm going to give it a box shadow of inset 0.03 rems of something, just to be able to see it. I'll use a brighter color, which is blue. And you can see that my bar that I can move, which is the thumb, is blue. You can see that. a blue bar. Actually, let me get the height to something just to be able to see it fully. 2 rems, okay? So you can see that box shadow is not fully on there. So you can put some 5 rems there, for example. You can see that it gets more. So what I can do else, in the thumb, I'm gonna give it also a border radius of 0.5 rems. Save that. And let's give it more. Let's give it 0, or let's give it 1 rem and see how it's gonna behave. Okay, you can see that we give it a border radius, and you can see on behind it that we have the track, and that's taking a gradient color for now because I have a new browser. If you have an old browser, if you're worrying about using selector, that's not gonna work there. We have this safe to go value, which is a background of black. That scroll bar is just going to be black, and we'll be all need to see this in a normal version. Anyways, you can go back. And in here, let's give it maybe a 45-degree. And you can see now that we have stuff in 45 degrees, red, orange, and yellow. And you didn't see the orange because it's hidden behind this scroll bar that we can, for example, take transparency down, and you could be able to see that orange behind it, the 45-degree gradient. And you can choose those colors to the one that suits you. So I'm going to copy these 2 lines of code, which is a normal background, a safe value to go to, like we said, and a background with a WebKit linear gradient. I'm going to copy that. Where I'm going to take it? I'm going to take it to my card container. So instead of this background color of yellow, I'm going to Control V right there. And I'll keep the background, the safe one, to white, for example. And you can see that already I have this background in a gradient, which can be up to you. That's just personal preferences. You can use black, for example, orange, gold, and rod. You can use 2 colors, 3, 4. You can choose percentages to these colors, how much you want to of each one of them, you know. So if I save, you can check that I have the black was a little bit too much. So for example, take it right there. For example, use a blue something. Choose lighter colors each time, for example, and you can see we have a beautiful cards. I'm gonna, instead of this border, take it to fully transparent, okay? What I'm gonna do now is get that card container itself, and now with a selector of hover. Sorry, we had a little mistake there. Column hover, and when we hover over it, what do we want to change? That border, Control C, get it right here. I want to change it to now to be fully transparent. Save that, check it up. Okay. Okay, but that's kind of too much. I'll use 1 rem. Okay, it's looking better. Take my scroll bar again to 0.6 rem, for example. And you can check that this on your phones. Before going, this is an iPhone. You can see that we have a beautiful slider. You can check that in your own phones. You can choose different devices, wider devices, smaller devices, see how it's behaving inside of it. And for that scroll bar, we took it to the thumb, we took it to transparency, so we'll get it up a little bit and change the color to a grayish color. So that's better. Okay. Actually, that's not better because we cannot see it right there, so I'll just increase that visibility and change it maybe to a writer value. Okay, it's looking pretty good. Again, this is just personal preferences. Colors and stuff like this is just personal preferences. You can choose whatever you want to choose. It's up to you. So go back to that cart container. When we hover it, we only changes the border. We can do some other change. For example, what we can do is transform and, for example, translate on the y minus 0. Something like 4 rem. Let's see how it's going to behave. Okay. So it is moving, but we have a little problem because we're translating it to minus 0.4 rem. This cart container is inside this carts group. So inside that cart group, a simple solution for that little problem is adding a padding of 1 rem. And we're translating by half of that value, so we should still be on that same container. See? Hopefully that was understood what we did right there, because it's just a little technicalities, a little bit of math, simple math. We are translating that on the y to get minus some value. Yeah. And it didn't have the place to get it on, so it was overflowing, so it was clipped. So now we have put a more padding to be able to translate that, but that's just jumping. So actually, let's do 0.7 rem. And before that's happening, you can use keyframes animations. We'll use a normal transition as we did in the other videos. Transition, you can be specific with it to the name of the transition. For example, you want to transition the width to something. For now, I'm going to transition everything to 250 milliseconds and easing out of it. Save. And you can see now that we have a better design, but it's only in translating that it's moving slower, but when it comes back down, it goes faster. So we'll take that same transition and give it to the cart container class name itself. So now if I save, you can see that effect is doing better. And if you don't see it, maybe the computer is playing tricks on you. We'll make it 2 seconds even to be able to see that it's moving up and going down. 2 seconds is too much. We'll leave that at 250 or something like 450, 400. It's up to you. I'm going to keep that actually at 400. This little transition. And that's too much. Let's see, 300. Again, a little info about this transition. You don't want to keep your transition slow, that you give the user the impression that your website is slow rather than an animation. So even 300 is a little bit too much, so I'll keep that as 200 or 250 at max. So 200, okay, that's better. You can see that we have a beautiful design that we can scroll through in our slider. Hopefully everything we did here is understandable. So hopefully if you liked the video, liked everything we have created so far, the top bar, search bar, items bar, and we have created this header. And if you didn't watch the others, you can go ahead and watch the others. I'm going to leave some links to them in the description, or you can go ahead to our channel and go to the playlist, and this series called Serie01, create an e-commerce project, and you'll find all the videos inside of it. If you really appreciate the content, go ahead and click on the subscribe button and then the like button. That would be really appreciated and help us go further in our channel. So for now, see you later.